Mail-order bride arrived, only to learn her groom was dead. Then his cowboy brother spoke. Ilara's hands trembled slightly as she gripped the railing of the small transport shuttle. Outside the window, the desert-like expanse of Aurora Station stretched endlessly, tinted in shades of rust and gold under a pale blue sky. This was no ordinary frontier. It was humanity's attempt to settle a new world, blending high technology with the ruggedness of the old frontier Earth stories she had read as a child. Hover wagons rolled slowly across sandy plains, solar windmills turned steadily, and small domed homes dotted the landscape. Her heart beat faster as she adjusted the strap of her bag. She had left her home on Elysia 7 with hope, letters, and dreams packed neatly into her chest. Letters from Jace, her groom-to-be, had been her only connection to this strange, new world for the last year. In her mind, she had pictured him countless times, tall, strong, with a laugh that would make all her worries disappear. Yet meeting him in person was something else entirely. The shuttle landed with a soft thrum. The airlock hissed, and the scent of dry sand and warm metal filled the cabin. Ilara exhaled nervously and stood. She glanced at the other passengers, all settlers like her, some alone, some with families, all holding their breath as they stepped onto the frontier. Stepping onto the landing pad, she felt the crunch of the planetary soil under her boots. The station was bustling with life, colonists hurrying about, hover wagons delivering supplies, and robots performing maintenance tasks. It was a strange mix of familiar earthly elements and alien machinery. A man approached, his boots kicking up dust. He was tall, with sun-browned skin, a wide-brimmed hat, and a gentle but serious look in his eyes. "You must be Ilara," he said. His voice was calm, carrying authority without harshness. "Yes, yes, that's me," she replied, clutching her bag tighter. "I'm Sheriff Dalton," he said, his eyes scanning the horizon before settling back on her. "I'm afraid I have some news." Ilara smiled nervously, expecting a greeting about her new home, maybe a list of duties or instructions. But the man's tone was too solemn, too quiet. "Your husband, Jace, he passed away." The words struck her like a bolt of lightning. She stumbled back slightly, barely catching herself. "No, no, that's impossible. He wrote to me. He said he was fine." Her voice shook. Sheriff Dalton placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "I know this is hard. I'm sorry. It was an accident at the mining site. There's nothing we could do." Ilara's mind spun. The letters, the dreams, the waiting, all of it seemed meaningless now. Tears blurred her vision. She felt as if the ground beneath her had disappeared. And then she heard a voice, low, deep, and steady, with just a touch of the old frontier twang she had read about in Jace's letters. "You're Ilara, right?" She looked up. A tall man with broad shoulders, wearing a leather jacket over a simple shirt and dusty boots, stepped forward. His face was serious, but his eyes carried warmth. He looked like someone who had spent his life under the sun and wind, someone who had learned to survive by his wits and courage. "Yes, yes, that's me," she said, her voice weak. "I'm Ryder," he said simply. "Jace's older brother. I wanted to meet you in person." Ilara blinked, unsure how to react. I'm sorry. I didn't mean." Ryder shook his head, smiling faintly. "No need to apologize. I know this isn't how you expected to meet me, or Jace for that matter." She looked at him, noticing the resemblance, the same strong jaw, the same eyes. But Ryder's expression was different. It was calm, grounded, and somehow comforting. She felt a strange sense of safety despite the grief crushing her heart. I don't know what to do now," she admitted, her voice trembling. Ryder nodded slowly. "It's not easy, but this planet, it's not just sand and rocks. It's a place where people survive, build, and help each other. Maybe you can stay a while, learn the ways. See if you can find a reason to call it home." Ilara looked around. The frontier settlement wasn't glamorous. It was tough, dusty, and unpredictable, but there was life. There were people and now, unexpectedly, a guide, someone who could show her the ropes in a place that was completely alien to her. Maybe I can, she whispered. Ryder's lips curved into a small, encouraging smile. Good, I'll show you around. There's a lot you'll need to know, not just about the settlement, but about surviving here. They began to walk through the settlement. Ilara noticed the details she hadn't seen from the shuttle. Solar panels glinting in the sun, a small market where colonists traded goods, a school dome where children played, laughing despite the harsh conditions. The community was small but thriving. Ryder pointed out various buildings. That's the supply depot. If you need anything, it's there. And over there, he gestured to a small building with a faded sign, is where Jace used to work. Mining operations. That's where the accident happened. Ilara felt a pang of sorrow but also curiosity. She wanted to understand her husband's life here, even if it ended tragically. I want to see it, she said softly. Ryder nodded. We'll go later, but first you need to settle in. I've arranged a room for you at the inn. It's small but comfortable. The inn was a single-story building made of metal and reinforced glass, with a few rooms and a common dining area. Inside, the air was cooler, and the smell of fresh bread mixed with brewed tea greeted her. It was simple, but it felt like a home, a tiny spark of warmth on this new world. As Ilara unpacked her belongings, Ryder sat nearby, giving her space but staying close enough to offer reassurance. The silence between them wasn't uncomfortable. It was the quiet of understanding. You know, Ryder said after a moment, Jace always spoke highly of you. I've seen the letters. He believed you'd be able to handle this world even without him here. Ilara smiled faintly, feeling a mixture of sadness and pride. I wanted to believe that. I still want to. Ryder stood and offered his hand. Come on, I'll show you the edge of the settlement. There's a view I think you'll like. It's humbling, makes all our problems seem smaller, and it's beautiful like nothing you've ever seen on Elysia 7. They walked toward the outskirts, where the land opened up into a vast plain, jagged rock formations casting long shadows in the late afternoon sun. The wind carried the scent of sand, metal, and distant water. Ilara felt the enormity of the world around her, terrifying and inspiring all at once. Every day here is a challenge, Ryder said, his voice low and steady. But it's also an opportunity. You can learn, grow, and make a life. Jace believed in you. I believe in you too. Ilara looked out across the horizon. The thought of building a life here without her husband seemed impossible, yet something stirred within her, a spark of hope. Maybe she could survive. Maybe she could thrive. Ryder didn't push her to talk more. He simply stood beside her, silent, letting her take in the view. For the first time since she arrived, Ilara felt a sense of possibility. The frontier was harsh and unpredictable, but it was alive, and so was she. As the sun dipped lower, painting the sky in deep oranges and purples, Ilara realized that her journey was only beginning. She had lost the man she came to marry, but she had found something unexpected, a chance to discover her strength, to adapt, and to belong. And beside her, Ryder watched, ready to guide her through the challenges ahead. Ilara inhaled deeply, letting the crisp air fill her lungs. This new world was strange, daunting, and uncertain. But for the first time, she felt that maybe, just maybe, she could call it home. The next morning, Ilara awoke to the soft hum of the settlement. The sun spilled golden light across the dusty windows of the inn, and she could hear the distant clatter of hover wagons making their rounds. She dressed quickly, her mind still heavy with yesterday's news. Jace was gone, and everything she had imagined about her new life seemed shattered. Still, she reminded herself that she had come this far. The journey across the stars had not been easy, and she had faced fear before. This was just another challenge, one she had to face head-on. After a light breakfast in the inn's small dining area, she found Ryder waiting outside, leaning casually against a hover wagon. He greeted her with a nod, his calm presence offering reassurance. "Ready?" he asked, tipping his hat. Alara nodded, adjusting the strap of her bag. "I think so." They walked toward the mining site where Jace had worked. The journey took them along rough terrain, sharp rocks, windswept plains, and narrow canyons. Alara noticed how Ryder moved with ease across the uneven ground, boots kicking up small clouds of dust, his eyes scanning the horizon as if expecting danger. There was a quiet strength about him that seemed to belong perfectly to this harsh world. As they approached the mining site, Alara's stomach tightened. The area was active yet somber. Machines hummed and clanked, transporting ore in a smooth rhythm, while miners moved with careful efficiency. Ryder led her to a small, shaded pavilion where several people had gathered. "This is where the accident happened," Ryder said quietly. "They were working on a new excavation. There was a sudden collapse and, well, there wasn't anything anyone could do." Alara felt her chest tighten, the reality sinking in with each word. She had imagined meeting Jace here, walking beside him as he showed her his work, hearing him explain the machinery and the ore they mined. Instead, she faced an empty chair and the echo of what could have been. A miner approached, a kind-looking woman with streaks of dust across her face. "You must be Alara," she said gently. "I'm Mara. Jace was a good man. We all liked him." Alara nodded, swallowing hard. "Thank you. I just wanted to see where he worked, to understand him better." Mara guided her through the site, showing her the machines and explaining the work that Jace had done. As they walked, Alara listened intently. Even though her heart ached, she found herself fascinated by the complexity of the operation. Humans had adapted so much to this new world. Machines designed to withstand extreme heat, automated lifts that ran on solar energy, and clever filtration systems that made water from nearly anything. "This place, it's amazing," Alara said softly. "How did humans manage to survive here?" Mara smiled. "We adapt. We find ways to make life work. Jace always said the same thing: the key is not just technology, it's people. People working together." Alara nodded, feeling a small spark of admiration. Even in grief, there was inspiration here. She realized that surviving on Aurora Station required more than luck. It demanded ingenuity, resilience, and courage, qualities humans seemed to have in abundance. After touring the mining area, Ryder led her back to the settlement. On the way, he spoke about Jace, not just his death, but his life. "Jace wasn't perfect," he admitted, "but he had a good heart. He cared about this place, about the people here, and about you." Alara listened, tears threatening again. "I wish I had known him better in person," she said quietly. "You still can, in a way," Ryder replied. "Through the work he left behind, through the people who knew him, and maybe even through me. I'm not Jace, but I'll do my best to help you understand him and this world." The day continued with Ryder showing her the settlement, the market, the medical station, the school dome, and the small community center where colonists gathered for events. Everywhere they went, Alara noticed the signs of human resilience. Children playing games adapted to the low-gravity environment, merchants trading goods they had crafted themselves, and engineers repairing machines with skill and patience. "This is different from anything I imagined," Alara admitted as they watched a group of colonists lifting a large solar panel together. "It's hard, yes, but people are alive, working, helping each other. It feels hopeful," Ryder smiled. "It is. Humans have a way of thriving, even in the toughest conditions. We don't just survive, we find a way to make a life worth living." By late afternoon, Alara felt exhausted but strangely encouraged. Ryder suggested they take a short hike to a ridge overlooking the settlement, a place Jace had often gone to think and watch the sunset. The path was steep and rocky, but Ryder moved with steady confidence, guiding her over uneven terrain. At the top, the view took Alara's breath away. The settlement stretched below like a miniature model, tiny figures moving with purpose. Beyond, the desert plains rolled endlessly, dotted with rock formations and shimmering heat waves. The sky was vast, painted with shades of orange, purple, and pink. "It's beautiful," Alara whispered. "I've never seen anything like it." Ryder nodded. "It's humbling, isn't it? Makes you realize how small we are and yet how capable." Alara stared at the horizon. The loss of Jace still hurt, but a new feeling began to take shape: determination. She had come here expecting one life and instead found another, one that demanded courage, adaptability, and hope. She realized that surviving here would not be easy, but humans were capable of more than she had imagined. Ryder noticed her thoughtful silence and spoke gently. "It won't be easy. The planet is harsh, but you'll learn, you'll adapt. And in time, you might even find a place here, a life worth living, even if it's not the one you planned." Alara nodded slowly. "I want to try. I need to try." They stayed at the ridge until the sun dipped below the horizon, the sky turning a deep indigo sprinkled with the first stars of evening. Ryder shared stories of Jace, childhood memories, funny mishaps, and the moments that had shaped him. Through these stories, Alara felt closer to the man she had never truly known, and yet the connection was real, grounding her in a new sense of purpose. As night fell, they returned to the settlement. The air had cooled and the first lights of Aurora Station flickered on, casting a warm glow over the dusty streets. People moved about, finishing their work, preparing meals and tending to their homes. Life continued quietly, with steady determination. Alara entered her room at the inn, feeling a mixture of exhaustion and hope. She unpacked a few more belongings and placed them carefully on the small shelves. Then she sat by the window, gazing at the settlement below. She could see miners finishing their shifts, children running home, and the soft lights of homes turning on one by one. This world was strange and unforgiving, but it was alive, and humans, flawed, determined, and inventive, were thriving here. Alara realized something important. She could grieve for Jace and still live. She could honor his memory by embracing the life he had loved, learning from the people he had cared about, and finding her own strength along the way. As she lay down to rest, she thought of Ryder, the steady presence guiding her through this new world, and the community that had welcomed her despite her loss. She felt a small spark of gratitude and courage, enough to carry her through the uncertainty ahead. Tomorrow, she would begin learning the ways of Aurora Station, the work, the challenges, the people. She didn't know what the future held, but she knew one thing: humans had a remarkable way of surviving, adapting, and finding hope in even the harshest conditions. And she intended to be one of them. With that thought, she closed her eyes, letting the gentle hum of the settlement lull her into sleep. For the first time since arriving, she felt that perhaps this new world could become home, a place where she could grieve, learn, and grow. The stars twinkled above, silent witnesses to human determination, and Alara drifted into dreams filled with the possibilities of tomorrow. The morning sun rose over Aurora Station, casting long shadows across the dusty plains. Alara stretched and took a deep breath, feeling the crisp air fill her lungs. Today, Ryder had promised to show her the practical side of life on the frontier, how humans survived in a place that was beautiful yet unforgiving. "Breakfast first," Ryder said, leading her to a small communal kitchen where settlers had begun their day. The smell of baked bread and strong tea greeted her. A group of miners and engineers were already eating, laughing softly as they shared stories of minor mishaps and clever solutions to everyday problems. Alara watched them for a moment. These people were ordinary, yet extraordinary in the way they had adapted to life on a harsh planet. They weren't just surviving, they were thriving, and that realization ignited a spark of determination within her. Ryder handed her a cup of tea and a piece of bread. "First lesson," he said with a grin, "you eat before you try to survive. Never underestimate the power of a full stomach." Alara laughed softly, taking a bite. It was simple, but it felt comforting. She had traveled across stars, faced uncertainty, and now, Even grief seemed lighter with the warmth of a meal and the presence of someone she could trust. After breakfast, Ryder led her to the outskirts of the settlement, where the first real lessons of survival awaited. The landscape stretched endlessly, dotted with jagged rocks and rolling sand dunes. Small domes and machines stood like sentinels against the harsh elements, and a faint hum of machinery filled the air. "Out here," Ryder began, "the planet doesn't wait for anyone. Storms come fast, the sun can scorch you, and the wind can strip you down to your bones. But humans, we adapt. We find solutions where there seem to be none." Their first task was to repair a solar collector that had been damaged during the last dust storm. Ryder handed Alara a set of tools, showing her how to carefully remove the panels and check for cracks. The work was meticulous, requiring patience and attention to detail. "See," Ryder said, "it's not just strength. It's thinking ahead, noticing what might fail and fixing it before it becomes a problem. Humans have survived because we can think and act quickly and wisely." Alara nodded, focusing on the delicate task. She discovered a thrill in solving problems, the satisfaction of seeing a machine restored to perfect function. Ryder watched her, clearly pleased. "You're learning fast," he said. "Jace would have been proud." After the repair, they moved to the water recycling unit. Aurora Station relied on advanced filtration systems to make water drinkable, and a small malfunction had reduced output. Ryder explained the workings of the machine, pointing out where filters needed cleaning and pipes needed adjustments. Alara listened carefully and followed his instructions. She was surprised by her own aptitude. Things that seemed impossible a week ago now felt manageable. When the unit hummed back to life, she felt a sense of accomplishment. "You see," Ryder said, smiling, "humans aren't helpless. Give us a challenge and we'll find a way through. That's what makes us human." The next task was more physical, constructing a small windbreak to protect crops from the harsh, unpredictable winds. Ryder demonstrated first, lifting poles and tying them together with cordage, then encouraging Alara to try. At first, she struggled with the uneven ground and shifting wind. But Ryder guided her patiently, showing small tricks: how to anchor poles using rocks, how to brace the structure for maximum stability. By the time the windbreak stood firm, Alara was breathing heavily but smiling. She had done it not alone but through collaboration and human ingenuity. Ryder clapped her on the shoulder. "See what happens when you don't give up. Humans can shape the world around them, even here, even now." As they worked, Ryder spoke about life on Aurora Station, the small victories, the daily struggles, and the sense of community that kept everyone moving forward. Alara listened intently. She realized that surviving wasn't just about tools or machines. It was about people helping each other, learning from one another, and never giving up. In the afternoon, they returned to the settlement to help the community prepare for an approaching sandstorm. The sky had turned a dusty orange, and a faint wind stirred the sand into low, swirling clouds. Settlers moved quickly, securing equipment, covering exposed machinery and checking on their homes. "Storms like this are normal," Ryder said. "You can't fight them. You prepare, you adapt, and you ride it out." Alara joined the effort, helping to secure solar panels and distribute protective coverings. She felt the thrill of cooperation, the satisfaction of contributing to the safety of others. The storm was coming fast, but humans were ready. As the first gusts hit, Alara and Ryder took shelter in a reinforced dome. Inside, the hum of the settlement's machinery was steady and comforting. Outside, sand whipped against walls and windows, yet they remained safe. Alara looked at Ryder. "I never thought I could feel so capable," she admitted. "You've got the mind for it," Ryder replied. "And don't forget, humans survive because we think, act, and care. That combination, unstoppable." Hours passed as the storm raged. Alara watched the settlement endure, each structure and machine tested but holding firm. She thought of Jace, the letters, the hopes, the plans, and realized that the life he had been building here was not fragile. It was strong because humans built it that way with determination and cleverness. When the storm finally passed, Alara stepped outside. The sky was clear, stars sparkling overhead. The settlement looked almost untouched, a testament to human preparation and resilience. She felt a profound sense of awe. They had faced the elements and survived, and so could she. Ryder clapped his hands, smiling. Not bad for your first real test. You learned fast, adapted well, and helped protect the people here. That's human ingenuity at work. Alara smiled back, feeling a glow of pride. It feels incredible. I never imagined I could do this. I never imagined I could survive here. Ryder nodded. That's the thing about humans. We surprise even ourselves. We find strength we didn't know existed. Over the next few days, Alara continued to learn. She mastered basic repairs, helped with minor construction projects, and even assisted in managing the small greenhouse where settlers grew food. Each task was a lesson in observation, patience, and creativity. She discovered small joys in problem-solving, in seeing the results of her efforts, and in the quiet sense of accomplishment that came from contributing to a community. During breaks, Ryder shared stories of Jace and the colony. He spoke of challenges Jace had overcome, clever solutions he had devised, and the ways he had contributed to the survival of the settlement. Listening to these stories, Alara felt closer to Jace than she ever had, even after his death. She realized that part of surviving the frontier was honoring those who came before and learning from them. One evening, as the sun set behind distant mountains, Alara and Ryder sat on a ridge overlooking the settlement. The wind was calm now, carrying only the faint scent of dust and metal. "You've done well," Ryder said softly. "You're not just surviving, you're learning to thrive." Alara nodded, staring at the horizon. "It's different from what I expected. Harder, scarier, but also amazing." "Humans can do so much here," Ryder smiled. "That's HFY right there. Human strength, cleverness, and heart. We don't give up even when the world seems against us, and neither should you." Alara felt a deep sense of purpose. She had arrived on Aurora Station expecting one life, a life with Jace, predictable and safe. Instead, she had been thrust into a challenge far greater than she had imagined. And yet, through determination, learning, and cooperation, she had begun to find her place. The stars above twinkled brightly, a reminder that the universe was vast, full of unknowns and opportunities. Alara realized that this was only the beginning. There would be more challenges, more storms, and more problems to solve, but she was ready. She had learned that human ingenuity and perseverance could turn the harshest conditions into a place where life could flourish. And for the first time since arriving, she felt confident that she could not only survive on this frontier world but also make it her own, finding meaning, strength, and hope in the process. The horizon stretched endlessly before her, a canvas of possibility. With Ryder by her side and the lessons of human ingenuity guiding her, Alara felt that she could face whatever came next. She was no longer just a visitor on Aurora Station. She was becoming a part of its story. Alara woke to the sound of distant humming, the subtle vibrations of the settlement's machinery working at full capacity. Aurora Station had become familiar to her now, but today there was an unusual tension in the air. Ryder met her outside the inn, his expression serious but controlled. "Something's not right," he said, his eyes scanning the horizon. "The mining sensors are showing unusual readings. I want you to come with me." Alara nodded, feeling a mixture of excitement and apprehension. She had grown more confident in her abilities, and Ryder had begun to treat her as a capable partner rather than just someone needing guidance. They walked to the mining control center, a small dome filled with holographic displays and blinking lights. Engineers moved efficiently, checking readings and adjusting machinery. Ryder pointed to one of the monitors. "Look at this," he said. The ore we've been extracting is giving off signals we didn't expect. If we're not careful, it could cause malfunctions in the machinery or worse, disrupt the water and power systems. Alara leaned closer, studying the display. The readings were complex, but she could see patterns that suggested instability. Could it be a technical error, she asked. Possibly, Ryder replied. But we need to prepare for every possibility. Human ingenuity isn't just about building things, it's about solving problems before they become disasters. Together, they organized a plan. Alara suggested running a series of simulations to predict how the machinery would respond to the ore's instability. Ryder approved, impressed by her initiative. As they worked, the settlement's engineers gathered around, eager for guidance. Alara felt a rush of pride. She was no longer just learning, she was contributing, helping solve real problems that could affect the entire colony. Hours passed as they ran tests and adjusted machinery. Each challenge required careful thought and clever solutions. Alara realized that the frontier demanded constant vigilance, but also rewarded creativity. Humans could overcome difficulties not by brute strength, but by thinking, adapting, and collaborating. By afternoon, the results were clear. The ore was stable if handled with proper precautions, but careless operation could lead to minor system failures. Ryder and Alara quickly devised a series of safety protocols. These included protective shielding, careful transport routes, and automated monitoring systems. "Good work," Ryder said, clapping her on the shoulder. "You've just helped prevent a potential disaster. Humans survive because we don't wait for problems to crush us. We prepare, we adapt, and we innovate." Alara smiled, feeling a surge of confidence. She was beginning to see herself not as an outsider mourning a lost husband, but as a capable member of this frontier world. Just as they finished, a scout arrived with urgent news. A small group of unauthorized miners had been spotted near the outer regions of the settlement. They weren't hostile, at least not yet, but their presence was risky. They could damage equipment or disturb the delicate balance of resources that kept Aurora Station alive. Ryder nodded. "We need to monitor them. We can't confront them directly, but we can outsmart them. That's what humans do best." Alara listened carefully as Ryder outlined the plan. They would use sensors, tracking drones, and carefully designed decoys to guide the trespassers away from sensitive areas. It was a challenge that required creativity and precision, and Alara felt a thrill at being part of it. They moved to the edge of the settlement, setting up monitoring equipment and deploying drones. The alien landscape stretched before them, jagged rocks and dusty plains giving way to distant hills. The trespassers appeared as small figures on the sensors, moving cautiously. Alara suggested an idea. "If we adjust the drone patterns and set up temporary signal beacons, we could guide them towards safe areas that won't interfere with our operations." Ryder's eyes lit up. "Exactly. That's the kind of thinking that keeps people alive out here." They spent hours fine-tuning the system, working as a team. Alara felt exhilarated. Every decision mattered, every adjustment had consequences, and their combined ingenuity was the difference between order and chaos. As the sun dipped toward the horizon, the plan was ready. The trespassers moved into the designated safe zones, unaware that they were being guided by human cleverness. The operation was a success, and the settlement's resources remained intact. Ryder turned to Alara. "You did well. Humans survive not just because we fight, but because we outthink and adapt. That's the real strength." Alara nodded, her confidence growing. She was beginning to understand what it meant to thrive on Aurora Station, not just to endure, but to actively shape her environment, anticipate problems, and protect those around her. The next morning, the settlement held a small meeting to discuss the day's events. Alara and Ryder shared their observations and recommendations. The colonists listened intently, asking questions and contributing ideas. Alara realized that collaboration and shared knowledge were as important as any technology or machine. Humans were stronger together, especially in a place as challenging as Aurora Station. Later, Ryder took Alara to the greenhouse dome. The plants inside thrived under careful attention and innovative watering systems. Ryder explained how the colony had adapted Earth crops to the alien environment, adjusting soil chemistry and using light spectra to encourage growth. Alara touched a leaf gently, marveling at the adaptability of life. "Humans can survive anywhere," she said softly. "Exactly," Ryder replied. "We take what we have, learn how it works, and make it thrive. That's what makes us special." As they worked on tending the plants, Ryder shared more stories of Jace. He spoke of Jace's clever solutions to minor crises, his quiet determination, and his belief in human potential. Listening to these stories, Alara felt a deep connection to the man she had loved. Even in death, he inspired her to grow and adapt. Over the next several days, Alara faced more challenges. She helped repair damaged equipment, coordinated resource deliveries, and even assisted in creating a new water distribution plan to handle the stress of the approaching heat wave. Each task required patience, creativity, and attention to detail. Through it all, Ryder was by her side, offering guidance and encouragement. He treated her as an equal, recognizing her contributions and pushing her to think critically. Alara realized that she was no longer the timid newcomer. She was an active participant in the survival and growth of the settlement. One evening, as the twin moons rose over the horizon, Ryder and Alara stood on a ridge overlooking Aurora Station. The settlement glowed softly in the distance, machinery and lights blending into a testament of human ingenuity and determination. "You've come a long way," Ryder said quietly. "From someone grieving and uncertain to someone who solves problems, adapts, and helps the community. You're learning what it means to be human out here." Alara smiled, feeling a sense of pride and accomplishment. "I've learned that humans aren't just survivors. We're creators. We solve problems, protect each other, and make life better, no matter the world we're on." Ryder nodded. "Exactly. And that's why humanity will always endure, because we don't just react, we innovate and care." The stars above shone brightly, reflecting in their eyes. Alara felt a deep sense of connection to the settlement, to Ryder, and to the legacy of Jace. She realized that life on Aurora Station wasn't just about surviving. It was about thriving, learning, and leaving a mark. And in that moment, she knew that whatever challenges awaited, she would face them with courage, ingenuity, and the determination that defined humans on the frontier. For the first time since arriving, Alara felt truly at home. She had come seeking a husband, only to find a world that demanded her full strength and intelligence. And she had discovered that she was capable of far more than she had ever imagined. Humans could endure storms, outthink threats, and thrive in environments that seemed impossible. And Alara would prove that she was one of them. The morning sun painted Aurora Station in shades of gold and pink, casting a warm glow over the settlement. Alara stepped outside the inn, feeling a sense of purpose she had never known when she first arrived. The frontier had tested her in every way, emotionally, mentally, and physically. And yet, she felt stronger, more capable, and more alive than ever. Ryder was already waiting for her by the hover wagon. His calm, steady presence had become a comfort over the past weeks, and Alara no longer felt like a stranger in this strange world. Together, they had faced storms, mechanical failures, and threats to the settlement's safety. She had learned the ways of Aurora Station, discovering her own ingenuity and resilience along the way. "Ready for today?" Ryder asked, a small grin on his face. Alara nodded, adjusting her bag. "More than ever. I want to make a real difference here." They began by checking the mining equipment, ensuring that all repairs and safety protocols were functioning properly. The machines hummed smoothly, a testament to human persistence and creativity. Alara moved with confidence, inspecting panels, adjusting filters, and noting areas for improvement. She was no longer just learning, she was contributing in meaningful ways. As they worked, Ryder spoke quietly, sharing stories of Jace and his dreams for the settlement. Jace always believed that humans could adapt to any challenge, no matter how harsh the environment, he said. He wanted Aurora Station to thrive, and now it's up to all of us to continue that work. Alara felt a wave of emotion. She had come to this world expecting a husband, only to face loss and uncertainty. But through that loss, she had discovered her own strength and the incredible resilience of humanity. "I understand now," she said softly. "Humans don't just survive. We create, adapt, and support each other. That's what makes life meaningful." Ryder nodded. "Exactly, and you've proven that you belong here. You're part of this community now." After finishing their inspection, they turned their attention to the greenhouse dome. The plants inside flourished under careful attention, and Alara could see how human ingenuity had transformed the harsh environment into a space of growth and life. She helped adjust lighting systems, repair irrigation lines, and even experimented with new planting techniques. Each success reminded her that humans could not only endure but also improve the world around them. By midday, news arrived that a neighboring settlement had requested assistance. A small energy grid had malfunctioned, threatening their water supply. Ryder suggested they help, and Alara eagerly agreed. They loaded the hover wagon with tools and supplies and set off across the rocky plains. The journey was challenging, but Alara navigated the terrain with growing confidence. She learned to read the landscape, anticipate obstacles, and work alongside Ryder as a team. They reached the neighboring settlement and immediately began assessing the problem. Alara noticed the grid's instability and proposed a clever solution, rerouting energy through a temporary system while reinforcing the damaged connections. Ryder approved, and together, they worked with the local engineers to implement the plan. Hours passed as they repaired the grid, adjusted controls, and tested the system. Alara felt a surge of pride when the lights stabilized, water began flowing, and the settlement's residents cheered. Human ingenuity, cooperation, and determination had once again solved a problem that could have caused serious consequences. On the way back to Aurora Station, Ryder glanced at Alara. "You've come a long way," he said. "You've learned quickly, adapted well, and shown real leadership. Humans survive, yes, but we also thrive because we think, work together, and care. And you've done all of that." Alara smiled, feeling the weight of his words. She had arrived as a newcomer, grieving and uncertain. Now she felt empowered, capable, and connected to a community that valued her skills and ideas. She realized that her journey was not about replacing Jace or forgetting him, but about honoring his memory through her own growth and contributions. Back at Aurora Station, the settlers gathered for an evening meal in the communal area. Laughter, conversation, and the clatter of dishes filled the air. Alara felt a deep sense of belonging. She was part of this thriving community, no longer an outsider struggling to find her place. After dinner, Ryder led Alara to the ridge overlooking the settlement, where they often watched the twin moons rise. The sky was clear, the stars sparkling brilliantly. The settlement below glowed warmly, a symbol of human determination and resilience. "You've done well," Ryder said softly. "Aurora Station is stronger because of you. You've adapted, contributed, and helped others. That's the spirit that keeps humanity alive, our intelligence, creativity, and heart." Alara took a deep breath, gazing at the horizon. "I've learned so much," she admitted. "I've faced challenges I never imagined, and yet I feel stronger, more capable." "Humans truly can thrive anywhere," Ryder nodded, smiling. "And so can you. This is your home now, too." In the following days, Alara continued to take on more responsibilities. She helped train new settlers, shared her insights, and even began experimenting with new ways to optimize the settlement systems. Her ideas were met with enthusiasm, and she felt a profound sense of fulfillment. Humans were not just surviving, they were building, improving, and creating a life worth living. One afternoon, Ryder approached her with a small box. "Jace wanted you to have this," he said. Alara opened it carefully and found a collection of tools, notes, and personal items that Jace had kept. She felt a rush of emotion. These were tangible reminders of the man she had loved and the life he had envisioned for Aurora Station. But they were also symbols of human ingenuity, the tools he had used, the notes he had written, and the clever solutions he had devised. She looked at Ryder. "Thank you," she said quietly. "This means a lot," he nodded. "He believed in you, Alara, and now I believe in you too. You've become part of something bigger than yourself, the story of humanity thriving on a new world." As the weeks passed, Aurora Station continued to grow and improve. Alara felt a sense of pride and purpose with every task she completed, every problem she solved, and every life she touched. She had faced loss, uncertainty, and the harshness of a new world, but she had emerged stronger, wiser, and more confident. One evening, as the settlement rested under the soft glow of the twin moons, Alara and Ryder stood on the ridge once more. The stars sparkled above, and the lights of the settlement twinkled below. "This place," Alara said softly, "it's not just surviving, it's thriving. And I feel like I belong here." Ryder smiled, his gaze steady and warm. "You do. Humans have a remarkable way of facing challenges, solving problems, and creating a future. And you've proven that you're part of that. Aurora Station is stronger because of you." Alara looked at the horizon, the vast desert plain stretching endlessly beyond. She realized that her journey had transformed her. She had arrived seeking a husband, only to find a world that demanded courage, intelligence, and heart. And she had discovered that she possessed all of these qualities, that humans, at their best, could thrive anywhere. With Ryder by her side and the lessons of Jace and the community guiding her, Alara felt ready for whatever the future might hold. The frontier was harsh and unpredictable, but it was also filled with opportunities, challenges, and the chance to leave a mark. She took a deep breath, feeling the wind on her face and the warmth of the twin moons on her back. Aurora Station was alive, vibrant, and full of possibilities, and so was she. Alara realized that life on the frontier was not about fear or loss. It was about adaptation, ingenuity, and the human spirit. She had faced the unknown, embraced her capabilities, and become part of something larger than herself. As she stood there looking out at the settlement she now called home, Alara knew one thing for certain. Humans could thrive anywhere, and she would continue to do so, shaping her world, honoring the legacy of those who came before, and carving her own path in the vastness of the universe. The stars twinkled above like silent witnesses, reflecting the resilience and determination of humanity. And Alara, finally at peace with the past and excited for the future, smiled, ready to embrace the life she had found, a life of hope, growth, and endless possibilities. Aurora Station was not just a settlement. It was a testament to human strength, intelligence, and heart. And Alara was now a living part of that story.